If you're looking to level up your UX, content, or product design practice to confidently and joyfully tackle complexity, ask the million-dollar questions, and design digital systems that actually work, you are so in the right place. Welcome to the UX Level Up podcast. I'm Sophia Prater, and for over a decade, I've been teaching professionals how to make the most valuable and often invisible parts of UX gloriously visible. We will untangle the structure beneath the surface before jumping into screens, saving time, money, and headaches, and having so much fun doing it. Together, let's UX collaboration, break down silos, and build shared understanding that sets everyone up for success. Let's become the systems thinkers that our teams, and quite honestly, the world, are so desperately craving. Let's level up our practice and redefine what it means to be a UX designer. Let's jump into it. Allie Ofisher, welcome back to the UX Level Up podcast.
Oh, I'm so glad to be here. Feels like home.
It does. I think this is your third time on the podcast. Is that right?
So over the years, yeah, third time.
Yeah.
Third time's a charm, huh?
This is the first time on the UX Level Up podcast since we rebranded from the OUX podcast.
Yes.
So that's exciting. And we are kicking off a little 4-part series with you within a 16-part series of the our ORCA series that I started years ago. And you're going to help me here wrap it up.
Oh, yes.
Yes. So we're going to talk about object representation, then relationship representation, then CTA representation, and then attribute representation.
The representations. Yes.
All of the representations. So you teach the representation round in foundations. Right now we're working together for you to really expand and, oh my gosh, basically take all the feedback from the representation round and everything that we had, like all the ways that we could see it growing and rolling it in to the new OUX masterclass, the new representation round. Like before we jump into object representation, actually, can you go ahead, for those that don't know you, can you introduce yourself?
Yes, absolutely. Hi, everyone. So my name is Allie Ofisher, and pretty much I have been always on the consulting side of UX, which means I get to see into how a lot of teams work and what does work and what doesn't work. And since 2020, when I first was introduced to OUX, I have been solely using it as my way to navigate the trickiest and most challenging projects and product spaces, and have been teaching it. Sophia and I have co-host a YouTube channel, OOUX We Did It Again, where we talk through challenges that we see in interfaces, the fails that we're going to talk to you more about, and how we would fix them and make them even better. So just a lot of OUX around me. I'm located in central Illinois, so I'm deep in the cornfields and soybean fields of our Midwest, and right here,
deep in the tractor interfaces too.
Yes, I work with a lot of AgTech clients, which is really fun. A lot of nonprofit.
That's agricultural tech for those that don't know.
Yes, thank you.
AgTech.
Oh, just more acronyms and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. That's a little bit about me.
Yeah. And we just always have so many projects going on together. It's so much fun and all sorts of fun OUX-y stuff. And Allie also moves shapes around and makes beautiful shapes. If you're watching the video right now, you can see her shapes in the background. And basically, like, what Allie really brings to the representation round is when you have a lot of research background. Yes. So like being able to see, like, diagnosing, like, what is wrong with this and what is the low-hanging fruit? What are our quick wins? How do we kind of triage and start fixing stuff? So you take your research background and then also your like strong visual eye of moving shapes around and like getting the shapes in the right place and in a place that makes sense. So you have like your version of that is completely artistic, right? Of just moving the shapes around to like the way that they feel good today. Yes. And they'll change tomorrow, right?
Which is like totally different than when dealing with like a digital whiteboard tool and like mapping out the layout of a screen or an object, right? Like very different modeling. And what's behind me is like the simple, it's just based on feeling and color and shape. no deep thought.
Sometimes
so it's a nice
you need that, mirror. Right?
Yes. Need to unplug a little. Yeah.
So before we jump into object representation, I feel like we need to level set because some of our OG OUXers out there are probably like, wait a second. I thought the ORCA process was 15 steps. Now it's 16 steps. What's going on? I haven't gotten the memo. So what happened? So we have, for those that are also new, there are 4 rounds to the ORCA process. ORCA stands for Objects, Relationships, CTAs, and Attributes. CTAs is calls to action, acronyms inside of acronyms. So Objects, Relationships, Calls to Action, Attributes. And we go through that 4 times. So the first is a discovery round. The second is a requirements round. Then we go into prioritization, which you may have heard Jake come out of the podcast and talk all about prioritization. And then you get into the representation round. And of course, we talk about remixing those and, sometimes switching requirements and prioritization. Traditionally, the representation round, or like originally, was these 3 steps. Like, I didn't feel like it made sense at first to be like, we're going to think about the representation of the O's and the R's and the C's and the A's. I was like, that doesn't really fit. It all just comes together. So my 3 steps were sketching, prototyping, and testing. Mm-hmm. And what I realized when I was writing X-Ray UX, the book, and I started like looking at the structure, a couple things happened. One, it was like, oh, we need to bring back in our 4 fails, which we will be talking about, all the things that we talk about on OOUX, we did it again. Because what I was seeing is even in my certification course, we would get to representation and we hadn't talked about these unintuitive objects. We hadn't talked about like what we're trying to prevent in a while. And then when they get to representation, I end up seeing shapeshifters and masked objects and isolated objects and broken objects after spending 10 weeks with me. And of course, like they've grown so much as designers, but I was like, what? How is this still cropping up? And it's because we weren't tying it back in. And so what I was able to do just through like writing the book was an interesting process of thinking about the actual structure of the thing and being able to see it kind of in an outline. I was like, ooh, maybe we can bring this back in. And the other thing is I started writing about prototyping and testing. And I was like, this is not actually part of OOUX. Like, I am not the absolute expert to be teaching people prototyping and testing. Like, yes, go prototype and test, but I wanted to kind of move that out of the ORCA wheelhouse because I am no longer an expert on teaching that. I have not, me personally, I have not done prototyping or testing in years now. So anyway, we have come back to now having this like beautiful symmetrical process of thinking about our O's, our R's, and our C's and our A's. And it just fits so nicely. It's things like things have clicked into place. So, and then the other thing I wanted to mention before we get into object representation, or Allie, do you have any, like, you're nodding your head here, but do you remember when I was like, wait a second, I don't know, sometime last year, I was like, I think that it's going to be these 4 steps, and we're gonna move prototyping. We're gonna like just expand out sketching, OOUX style sketching, and move prototyping and testing kind of outside of the process.
Oh yeah. So like it clicked so much. One of the things I love is that it gives me these clear ways that I know I'm not going to introduce these fails because already structurally, I'm not going to introduce them. But when you get to representing as a past designer, someone who has been deep in Figma, there are just times you fall back into these steps of, I don't know what to call them. Like you fall back into bad habits. There you go. Where you're like, oh yeah, okay, I'm going to design this one way. Okay, now I'm going to design this over here. And you can easily go back to those bad habits and forget these things. So what I love now is that this does follow, like, okay, I'm going to think about how to make my objects really distinct in the O's. I'm going to make sure they're really connected with relationships. I'm going to make sure the placement of those CTAs are always consistent and clear. I'm going to make sure that there's no shape shifting. We'll talk about all these. Yeah. But like, I can go through that checklist every time I'm designing because that is what is needed. It's not always a neat step process of like, okay, now I design. It's like, no. I'm designing things left and right and throwing into old features, new features, things like it's never just a nice package. Like, no, I'm done, which is different than like when you go through the certification course and like go through all the steps and end at something and like, okay, I'm going to kind of create this end product. So what I love about the new approach is, yes, it's like, give me the helpful reminders so that I don't include these things in again. And yeah, I just absolutely love it. And like, yeah, still test it, still prototype it. You still need to do those things.
And things can still go wrong. But like
Yes.
now you have this like baseline of like,
Yeah.
we know we don't have any of these issues, or if like you do have any shape shifting or a little bit of masking, like you've been really intentional about it. And you're like, okay, like I think that it's all right here. I'm making my compromises as needed. But like it just makes the design, when we turn from our abstract sticky notes and we start turning the corner into design, it just makes it flow. And so much better, and makes it flow like, okay, like now I've got this baseline of design and now I can build upon it. And yes, definitely still test and still make your prototype and everything. But this sort of like leads you closer to the prototype, which is
It does.
really cool. And then
Yeah.
the other thing that we wanted to talk about, and we're going to get into it in this little representation series for the next 4 episodes, but this idea of moving the representation round, actually not moving it, but that sometimes it can be the first round that you go through because you're auditing another representation, right? You're looking at like what some other designer did or what you did 6 months ago. You're looking at existing screens. And so you're taking in representation. So we're kind of going to be talking about that too, I think, right? About like,
yes. Yeah, like using these UX fails we talk about as almost your symptom to guide and find out like where are the larger structural problems? Where do I need to, what did I call it? Is like triage. Where do I need to triage this interface? Which is different than, okay, I've gone through the ORCA process. We have a really strong structural foundation. I don't need to triage anything. I just now need to represent these things in a clear way. But you can also use these as a way to see where in products are the biggest problems? Where is the team struggling the most probably? And then what OUX activity can I use and go back to and focus my attention on? And that's how I use these fails when working with new clients, or if you're onboarding to a new team and you want to show that like, hey, I can really be useful and valuable from the start. And I don't know anything about this product yet. Like this is a really helpful way. So I like that, like the reverse engineering, representation first.
Totally. Yeah. And I love this idea of them being symptoms of a larger issue. Like it's not just like, let's go fix all our masked objects.
Yeah.
Like the fact that there's masked objects, that means something. There's deeper meaning to that. And you can get to the more systemic issues. You can kind of reverse engineer it to get to those systemic issues. So let's jump into object representation. That's enough like talking about things with words that maybe some of our listeners are like, I don't even know what you're talking about. So thanks for sticking with us. Just had to do some context and level setting. So let's jump into object representation. Okay. So what goes wrong here, Allie? What do we want to avoid when we are representing our objects?
This is our tricky masked object. So this is when you have objects in your system and they are wearing the same outfit. So 2 different objects are represented identically. And this is such a problem. And what I see when I am doing user research is that like it can be really tricky. It can be really it can be really tricky for someone to understand just where to even find stuff because everything looks so similar.
Yeah.
So the recognizability of your objects isn't clear. And yeah, people are going to have difficulty understanding what they are and hard time finding stuff and just engaging meaningfully because it's not going to match their mental model of like, oh, okay, I'm coming to this app to find books and I can't find the books, or where are the events? I don't know. These things look the same and I can't really tell the difference between them.
And they have to read, or they can't use their muscle memory because it's like doesn't. So this happens a lot. We see this so much, especially with like, I see this a lot in e-commerce sites and marketing sites or sites that are like a lot of tables or something. It's just a bunch of tables of rows and stuff. But what you see like the card component. And the card component is in your design system, and there's like the homepage card, or there's the carousel card, and you can just shove any kind of content in there. And so what you end up with like, let's take I always use the example. Let's use the zoo. Let's use the zoo example. Okay. So you're going to the zoo webpage, and on the there's just like a photo and some text and then some little text underneath. That's the card, right? And maybe like a little like flag on the top. And like you can put like a featured animal in the card. You could put a featured event. You could put a safety notice in these cards. And then all of them, like they look exactly the same. And what happens though is when you click on them, they probably will all go to different detail pages. So it's just, you want people to know what they are clicking on when they click on it. It's just like, if we think about a physical environment, we think about like masked objects in a physical environment, we laugh at it. It's literally like you walk in a room and you just can't tell the difference between the tables and the chairs or something like that.
Oh
they
my
look
gosh.
exactly the same, and you just have things, just generic things.
Did I ever tell you
horrible.
the example I saw, if anyone's familiar, we'll put a picture up if you're watching this live or watching the video, is where they have sunscreen that looks like whipped cream. So sunscreen comes in whipped cream packaging. And so to me, it's like, wait, is that whipped cream or is that sunscreen? And that's like, like that's so confusing when you see it.
Yeah. It's the often like coffee. And now this is an interesting example because it's like, is decaf coffee and coffee, are they different things or are they the same thing?
Ooh.
Now I say that they are completely different things. So coffee with caffeine versus coffee without caffeine is somebody very sensitive to caffeine. Totally different. And then it's usually like the tiniest little text. It's like, decaf,
oh my gosh.
A little whisper on the packaging saying that it's decaf, and you have to like look at it, and you're bleary in the morning and everything. So yeah, this happens in the real world. And when it happens in a digital world, it's usually even worse because there's like not even other cues. Like you can't hold it. So it's like a little bit distanced from you. Mm-hmm. Anyway, masked objects come from design systems that don't have any semantics. It comes from consistency sort of used with probably the best intentions. Like, oh, it's so consistent. It's just all the cards.
We're saving time. Let's use the same thing.
Yeah. And then you're doing yourself such a disservice. And like just blanket consistency is not what we're looking for, because then we will end up with these masked objects. And one of the most important things when people enter an environment is they're going to be trying to name the things. They're going to be like, what are the things here? What do I have? I'm looking at the zoo website. Okay, I've got membership levels. I've got animals. I've got tickets I can buy. I've got events. I've got, park rangers.
Products.
Products.
Products I can purchase.
What are the things here, right?
Yeah, staff, I guess. Yeah.
Staff, restaurants, snacks.
Yes.
If I'm in the park, bathrooms, right, that I might want to look up. So you want to know what the things are. This is what the human brain does. Okay, so it's bad for users. Is there any what's going on with the product team? Is there
okay.
What is it a symptom of, actually? Like when we see a bunch of masked objects, I would say it's a symptom of a design system that doesn't have semantics on top of it, like a generic design system. What else is it a symptom of?
I mean, what I've mostly seen is it can be a sign that your system is bloated, because if you don't understand the objects, you might be having objects that are too similar being shown as separate things. Do you know what I mean? To me, it's like an underlying problem of the teams not understanding distinctly what the objects are in the system, which can lead to, I guess I would say, objects that aren't necessary. Like it's not a simple, clean system.
Interesting.
There are things that are duplicating. Yeah, I know. It's a little bit different than masking, but it's like if I see masking, I start to look and be like, ooh, are there ways we could be structuring this more simply so that we don't have too much similarity between things?
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely a symptom of, if you have masked objects in your product, unless you've got an OOUXer in there, doing the good work, trying to get rid of them, it is a symptom of whenever this was shipped, the team was not thinking about what the objects are, right? So they're probably not clear internally on what the objects are. And if you're not, because if you are clear internally what the objects are, you probably are going to have a sense of they should look different, right? Instead of it's just content. It's all just content. And we just put in, or you have these other terms, layers on top of it. So you're thinking more in interface. So instead of
content
thinking about
types.
Content types. So instead of animals and events and bathrooms, what people actually care about, you have highlights. You have homepage highlights. You have what's another one that you hear a lot? Homepage highlights, recommendations.
I always say post.
Post,
but post can be used for anything. You can make a post be used for an event. We've designed the post structure. Now let's slap and use it everywhere for different things. And that's
totally. And when you can start seeing that, it's there's a lack of understanding of the conceptual model because those conversations are not happening. And this is you're thinking in screens, you're thinking in highlights and posts and recommendations in sidebar banner or whatever those components might be that the content can go in. You're thinking in the packaging instead of thinking in the substance. And
Oh,
if
I
you
love
got
that.
a team thinking in packaging and not thinking in substance, then you're going to be hard pressed to create a really elegant product because you're
Mm-hmm.
creating really good packaging, maybe without a whole lot of substance or without thinking about
No.
the substance. So,
No. So, okay, Sophia, what would you recommend? Like when we see this,
yeah.
what do we do? What do we do about it?
I mean, there's like the things that I think about, and I'd love to hear what you think. But like, I mean, the way that I want to distinguish them, right? I want to see like, okay, well, we need to be clear on what these things are. So like, let's first do that to make sure like what are the actual things, and that's going to take some collaboration. But yeah, I think that the main thing is what you want to do is you want to start visually differentiating those. And you can do this in so many different ways. Like I love talking about skeuomorphism, and skeuomorphism got a bad rap in the early 2000s because it was a little silly back then. If you don't know what skeuomorphism is, do a little Google image search. But if you can think of like the calendar with the ripped paper at the top. If you think about like the original iCal, and it had like the leather, and that was skeuomorphism that was silly. Like it was like, let's make it look just like the real world. But we can do other little things that like give these visual clues on what the thing is. Like I might want to put a animal like kind of like on a portrait, like almost like a playing card. So I can use a little bit of metaphor there, like, ooh, the animals are like the players, right? And then an event, I can make it look more square. So it looks like a calendar block or something. So shape, you can use color, you can use iconography. You want to just signal in multiple ways what this thing is, and bringing a little bit of metaphor in, bringing that kind of elegant web 4.0, whatever we're at right now, skeuomorphism in to nod to the user that this is what this is. What do you think? What are some...
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I love you're always one of like people in circles. Like that's
people in
just a
circles.
really simple one, but like think of ways you can use shape and distinguish the shapes from the other objects. So yes, if you have animals, I love animals being like this playing card. I'm trying to think of what were other objects.
Bathrooms. Put a big potty icon and people will be like, oh,
Yes.
bathroom. That's an easy one, right?
Bathroom. Yeah. And even something as simple as, I know we're talking a lot about UI stuff here, but labels, really clear labels on what your things are.
Oh my gosh.
And icons can go so long, especially for people that are dealing with systems that they do have a lot of tables. Like that we'll get into some of the like distinguishing with the attributes themselves also is a good tip for that. So what I mean by that is choosing attributes that really make it clear that this is something different. So if you have two objects that maybe they have a name, so an animal and a person, they have a name, they have a picture, and we don't know, maybe a description or
bio.
something. A little bio, right? Some text.
Their age.
Their
like,
age.
Nobody else, no other object in the system is going to have age, likely.
Yes.
So like, even though maybe it's not that important to animal, like it's a cute little thing. Or like what, I'm trying to think of like what species, not species, but what like family, are they reptile? Like that's kind of like are they a reptile? Are they a mammal? What is that called? Genus? Family?
Yeah. All of those.
Yeah. What kind of animal type are they? So animal type would be really telling. But something for like an event, like of course you're going to highlight the date and time, like nothing else. But like, animal might have date and time on it too, like date last updated, right? And then we're giving extreme examples right here. And you're like, I would never do that, but like you would be surprised. So I don't want to put the date and time. I don't want to make that prominent on the animal object because it's going to make it confusing with the event object. Like only really show, like unless it's on the detail page, it's like, it could be at the very bottom of the detail page. If for some reason, like date update, you need to show that. So figuring out like what are the attributes that make that object distinct and really like pushing them up and highlighting them and making them part of the structure.
What I love about everything in the representation round is that we are being really intentional with every choice. So we're being intentional about what attributes we pull in on the smallest card level. We're being intentional about shape. It's like there's no longer, it's kind of up for, not saying, I don't want this to come across like we're saying you don't have creativity, because you still need a lot of creativity around interaction design when you bring in branding. But like when you think about some of the decisions of like, where should I put this piece of metadata compared to this? And like, what order am I going to put these in? We're giving you really clear, like thinking really intentionally about this, you're going to make better decisions that like everyone can rely on, and you can teach your team. So you're not always the person where the whole team goes to and goes like, where should this go? And you're like, oh, I don't know. Let me put it in here. And
I
move
put it
this
here
over
because I
here.
didn't know where else to put it.
I don't know where to put it.
And then some stakeholders like, I think I like it here better.
Yes,
And I'm
that's
like,
actually
okay,
where I use this more.
Fine. Completely arbitrary guesswork.
Yes.
When it's not that like we do not like when it comes to creativity, it's like this is creative problem solving with really clear guidelines where you're like, I know that this is better versus it's still hard. Like it's so much easier, but like it's the right challenge. Like we're doing the right challenge. We're saying like, ooh, what is the distinguishing attribute here? Like that's a creative decision. How am I going to show it? So it's creative problem solving, but we're not here to do art. We're not here. I mean, we're here to do art after hours all day. But like when it comes to UX, it's not like, oh, I just liked the way that it looked there. It's like, no. Like everything, like nothing should be arbitrary.
Yes.
When it comes to when we are positioning our information on the screen and we are putting information and we are encapsulating that information within objects that people care about, those real world objects. And for those that are still listening and they're like, what's an object, Sophia? Thanks for sticking with us when you don't even know what I'm talking about when we say object. But an object, it's those real world archetypical things. We're not talking about UI components. We're not talking about the nav bar or the slider or the buttons or anything like that. We're talking about the real world things. And hopefully that was obvious with our examples of objects from a zoo. But yeah, when we represent those, we're just intentional is like the word of the day.
It is. It's like you're going to hear that throughout all of these as we talk about representation. And it's the reason I love it, because I've always wanted more of, I wouldn't say I'm the most logical person, but like I want logic when it comes to my choices so I can back them up with people. So that I can say like, I loved what you said about a stakeholder coming in and being like, cool, put that right there. Or a developer, anyone. I mean, I've done it, been like, yeah, sure, stick that type metadata up there in the right corner. Sure, why not? Yeah. It looks good there. And it's like, no, we can be really intentional. We can figure out through research what's going to make sense. We can think through the hierarchy of what we already have. We can make sure it's distinct from other things in there. Like you can go through this and have a really good argument for why that needs to be there. And people are going to come to you for like, what do I want to say? Come to you, but like you're going to be seen as someone that thinks really clearly and critically through these choices. And that's going to be a huge asset like that people are going to come to you at that level of expertise.
100%, because you're going to be able to defend your design decisions. And that's what people actually really want that. Like I'm coming to the conclusion that people like when us as UX designers, okay, I'm going to get a little spicy here. I get a little spicy. I feel like there is something in the water in general where UX designers feel a little bit jaded, a little bit like their decisions don't matter, that they're constantly getting steamrolled, that like there's a lot of compromising, right? And like, this is my beautiful, elegant design. And now it's just being crapped on, right? If your design is being crapped on and you don't have a good, compelling reason, a really clear, good, compelling reason for why you had it the way you had it versus just like intuitively it was good, right? Like it's not good enough, right? Like people are going to move your stuff around and you're going to feel powerless unless you take a hold of that power, right? And we need good tools to do that. We need to be able to say like, this is the way the human brain works. Like this is going to be more confusing and it is going to affect conversion, right? It's going to like, how is it going to actually affect the business? Like we need to be having those conversations. We need to say like, and we'll probably really talk about this when we talk about CTA representation, but like if people like coming back to, I'll get off my soapbox in a second, but like I'm fired up because like if people don't know what your objects are, like if your objects are not clear, your value is not clear. Like this is like, I am going to a zoo to see animals and see events. And I want to make sure there's bathrooms there. Like I am going to, like, that is what I'm coming for. I'm going to meetup.com for events and people and groups. What did I say? Meetup? Did I say meetup.com? Yeah.
Yes.
Like, when I'm going to these systems, like I'm looking for things that hold value that I care about. And if it's not clear what those things are, I can't see them. I can't distinguish them. I can't build a little bit of a relationship and I can't trust them. We'll talk about that when we talk about shapeshifters, but even mass objects, it reduces trust. We talk about this so much on Audea, oops, we did it again. Yeah. And so like there are business cases for this, right? We can defend our design decisions. And if we feel like we're getting squashed over and over and over again, that's a pattern with our entire industry that says something about our industry.
It does. I love the soapbox. Yes.
So to wrap up, from putting your researcher hat on,
Yeah.
what are some ways that we can like see, or sort of like questions that we could ask to our users, or things we could do during any kind of like usability testing that we get to do to kind of see like, are we doing any masking? How well are we differentiating our objects? Do you have any tips and tricks?
Oh, yeah. Do I? Okay. So my go-to is, so my philosophy when it comes to user research is very much like observe. I love just watching what people do. But here's the other thing. Asking the simple question over and over again. I mean, anyone that's worked with me knows I love this question. It's just like, what do you see here? What do you think that is? Let them describe it. Let them do the work. I don't really do. I'm just really making sure I understand how they see it. And that's it. So I can do this with their current product. I can do this with the new prototype we have, or anything. I can just be like, tell me about what's in your world right now, what tools you're using, other things you're using. It just depends on, but asking them to describe it. Hearing the words they use will let me know if, oh, okay, they got it right. That is what that is. So that means we're on a good track. If they hesitate and aren't sure, that I can also use how they describe it as ways to improve it. So maybe they're looking at it and like, oh, this looks like this. And maybe they use a term and it's like, oh, they did get there. But I'm going to use that language that they used. Or I'm going to start collecting the terms that a lot of different people use. And maybe our stakeholders use. And I'm going to put that together and I'm going to show and present it to the group and say, hey, look at this. Our users describe this as this thing. They describe it this way. We internally are describing it this way, and we're representing it in this way. And like, you can get into really good conversations with the team once you have that information from users. So just having them describe it. There's one more I wanted to bring up, which was you can do a little survey and ask people to describe the different things also. Describe, like, we do this, I know, for stakeholders, like, okay, can you describe these objects, like what these things are, or describe the 5 important things in your world? Having just getting the language of what they use and what they find important, a little bit different than ranking, but we can also do that too. We can have them rank the objects in importance. So different activities just like that. And there's some really cool ways to do that with users that, again, because these are things they're used to. So it's not a big step to be like, hey, based on these 5 things, which one's most important to you? Which do you use most often? Which is most frequently? Getting into relationships a little bit. How do these relate to one another? Like, do you use these together? Anyway, a lot of stuff.
Do you ever ask about, like, or do you listen for when they say what they think it is? Like, what are you looking at? What is that thing? Right? Or do you listen to like how they say it? Like, is it like, oh, that's an animal?
Their
versus
confidence.
Like, I think it's an animal. Yeah, their confidence.
You have
a lot of these people will guess right, but there's so much. If you have people that are, even if everybody guesses right, but if they're like, event, that's not good, right? You don't want them to be like, meh.
And here's the importance, I will say. I don't think AI, my little soapbox about AI, I don't think it's there yet to detect that nuance. It might be someday. So I really encourage you, like, just listen to what someone's saying. Understand the tone. You're exactly right. The tone that they say it, and if there's any hesitation, because they want to please you in these calls. They want to say like, oh yeah, I got it right. Like, I think I know what this is. And you just got to have those antennas up to really see if there's any sort of confusion. But yeah, I love the old, just talk to me about what's on this page here. Give me a little walkthrough of what you see here. That's like gold. Like, just have them describe everything they're seeing is going to go such a far way into getting some feedback for you and your team on, hey, are these distinct enough? Is there any masking?
I want to highlight the labeling issue real quick. So this is a start engine. I think I was talking to Jake about this too. So like it's kind of like Kickstarter, but for startups.
Oh, okay.
And these are labeled as most momentum. What are they?
Most momentum.
So
it's like labeling the group of that.
Of these things, but like these are the main things. Like, this is something that you fund. This is something that you take action on. You heart the thing. It's the main thing. But if I was asked, what are these things? It would be like company. Campaign? Is it a company? Is it a campaign? Is it a project? Is it even a product? Is it like a new product within? I don't know what these things are.
That's a clear sign. Clear sign.
Somewhere else in the app where I found they labeled them offering, but I think they labeled something. So there's like one place they call it an offering and another place they call it something else, I believe. categories. And it's just like, so if you have a list and where you're labeling, don't just label by the adjective, by the metadata. Most funded what?
What are
they're
these
shapeshifters, of course. Closing soon. But what is it that's closing soon? So
great example.
Labels. Just
labels are
thing.
such an easy way to distinguish. I mean, we love to read. I mean, if I ask someone to describe what they see, they are going to read the text. They're going to read the text first, right? And then they're going to look at it and kind of like, okay, what are these things? Let me look at a list of them like you did. So why not just put the label of what it is there? I don't get why there's such a like, oh no, we can't do that. It's like, if it's going to be clear, like put
and people want, like,
label.
especially if you're buying something or you're funding something, like, what is this thing? It's going to be a distraction. You're going to have the Zygarnik effect. It's going to be that open loop in the back of the mind. Like,
what is
I'm
that?
interacting with this thing, but I don't really know what to call it. And offering is a super abstract term as well.
Exactly.
Like, is it I guess it's an offering. I don't know.
Abstract. That's the key. If you have a product that deals with really abstract objects, you need to rely even more heavily on the labels and really clear. Like, be clear in your navigation if it's object, like if you have an object-oriented navigation where it says what those things, like I want to see a list of offerings. I want to see, but like you need to rely more heavily than on something like maybe our zoo example is too like, okay, animals, like that's kind of clear what these are, right? So just think about that, like and like how many objects you have too, like that kind of can play into it as well, like abstractness and amount. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, we could keep going. Something, well, animals could be unclear because it could be the difference between species versus animal. Like, am I looking at a specific animal that I'm going to visit? This gorilla, because I said age, you know, this gorilla is a 35-year-old gorilla, right? Versus like, this is gorilla.
Yes. I'm going to the gorilla part of the like the habitat, the like part at the zoo, which is
almost like an enclosure, really.
Yeah.
Like, is that really more of an enclosure object? Do we even, and this is a scope question, do we even have the actual animals, like some of our famous animals, are they showing on the zoo website? So we could be in a conversation all using the term animal, but like I'm thinking like individual animal and you're just thinking species.
Yes.
Be clear in these things.
This is where you need to go back with your team and have really clear definitions and understanding of these objects. And if you're seeing masking, I highly recommend go talk to your users, but talk to your team about it. Get clarity on like, are these the same? Are we talking about the same thing? Do we understand what these things are? And then how can I best represent them in a way that respects their distinctness?
Amazing. All right. Well, happy OUXing, everybody.
Yes.
And we'll see you back here for relationship representation.
See you all soon.
Happy OUXing. Thank you so much for listening to the UX Level Up podcast. If you want to connect with me, Sophia, please follow me on Instagram at SophiaVUX. Or you can find me on LinkedIn, Sophia Prater. I'm pretty easy to find there. Our music was brought to you by Ruby Vel, courtesy of Sugaroo Records. Thanks again for listening.